Have you ever heard the tale of Noah? The story of the man that God saved via a giant boat while he flooded the entire world. Well, I visited a place that tells that story via a real-life giant ark. I'm LT and this is Backpack Religion. It may surprise some people that stories of cataclysmic floods that destroyed the entire world and everyone living inside except for a select family or a select person are actually more prevalent than you think. The most popular which, besides the story of Noah, is probably the Epic of Gilgamesh, which recounts the legend of a man named Upapishtim, who was warned of a giant flood to come caused by the gods. He was saved by a giant boat in the shape of a cube, along with his family and some animals and plants. The legend is believed to be 5,000 years old from the Mesopotamian region. This is just one of many legends that exist, but due to the popularity of Christianity as a religion and the fact that the Bible is consistently one of the best-selling books in the world, the story of Noah is the archetype of all flood stories, and it is the story that the Ark Encounter is all about. When you first arrive at the Ark Encounter, you have to take a bus that transports you to the actual Ark I showed earlier. And it's important to note that the people who constructed this museum actually built this Ark to the dimensions mentioned in Genesis 6 of the Bible. To my disappointment, the ramp outside the Ark is not how you enter the giant boat, although I think that would have been really cool. Rather, you use several ramps that are at the front end of the exhibit. Once inside, the Ark Encounter uses several signs, displays, and models to tell the tale of Noah, a man, according to the Bible, that was born 5,000 years ago. As the story goes, Noah lived in a time when the world was very wicked and corrupt. So corrupt, in fact, that God wanted to destroy the entire human race. The only person whose family stood out as righteous and God-fearing was Noah's family, hence the story of Noah. Since Noah was the only righteous person remaining along with his family, he was commanded to build a giant boat according to the dimensions and commands of God. All of this was in preparation for a giant storm and flood that God was going to pour down upon the world. Ah! Oh no! We move forward, lads!
It's a typhoon!
This storm will pass after 40 days.
Pirates of the Caribbean line. Let's start believing in ghost stories.
And just like my friends and I were making jokes there, people also made jokes and mocked Noah for his obsession with building the ark and some sort of storm that was supposed to come that was going to wipe out the world. Everyone found it to be a mockery during that time. And for reference, it is believed that Noah would have endured this sort of mockery and this sort of shame for about 100 years as he was building the ark. However, the laughing stopped when the door was slammed shut by God and the rain started to pour, eventually killing all of humanity, except for, as mentioned previously, Noah and his family. Along with all the animals that came on the boat, and according to the biblical account, animals came on by pairs of two into the ark. 40 days and 40 nights, rain came pouring down upon the world, causing the floodwaters to rise above the trees and even compete with the mountains themselves. This never-seen-before flood forced Noah and his family to survive for over 150 days on the ark. And this is what makes the Ark Encounter so interesting. They try their best to hypothesize how Noah would have lived on the ark during the flood, how he would have built cages to contain the animals, how he would have distributed food and water, what the family was doing on a day-to-day basis. This is what makes the ark so interesting, that they hypothesize about the things that aren't explicitly mentioned within the Bible. In regards to construction and animal containment, the Ark Encounter proposes several different cage builds consisting of mostly wood. The size and details of each cage differ depending on the animal, but they showed cages for all kinds of creatures ranging from like small rodents, birds, and of course dinosaurs. You may have noticed that for most of the animal shelters, even the ones for larger animals are relatively small. And that's because the Ark Encounter theorizes that most of the animals would have been young and therefore not fully mature during the journey. The facility also theorized a living quarters for Noah and his family, where they would have slept, where they would have ate, and different areas for them to do construction work or blacksmith work. As should be obvious by now, the founder of the Ark Encounter, Ken Ham, is a Christian who wishes to prove the Noah story to be true.
But here's what I say. You don't believe the Bible? No. Guess what? I do. How do you explain dinosaurs? What about the Big Bang? How do you explain the Grand Canyon? People often say to me, how do you fit that into the Bible? You don't fit anything into the Bible. You start with the Bible and build a worldview that explains the evidence. And then you use observational science to investigate the present, which confirms your starting point.
That's why a lot of the signs and displays show common arguments people raise against the story of Noah being a real story that took place thousands of years ago. This debate still rages on, with intellectuals such as Ken Ham himself and Bill Nye going back and forth about the actual plausibility of the flood account. For those interested in the debates and the theories and things like that, you can check out some links in the description below. Continuing the story of Noah, after the ark was caught on a mountaintop, Noah released a raven into the air, hoping for it to give some sort of clue of how much water was left sitting on the world. The raven never returned, so Noah resorted to a dove instead. The dove eventually returned with nothing in its beak, indicating that the waters were still very high. About a week later, he released a dove again into the wild, and it came back with an olive branch, indicating that the water was at about tree level. And then the third time that he released a dove, it never came back, indicating that the waters had receded. Stepping out of the ark according to God's command, Noah made sacrifices and worshiped God, and God made a covenant with mankind to never flood the world again, using the rainbow in the sky as a sign of this covenant. Which concludes the story of Noah, or at least the portion that involves the flood. This incredible story does truly come to life at the Ark Encounter, helping Christians imagine what the ark may have looked like thousands of years ago. Or on the flip side, helping non-believers understand the magnitude of the Noah story. For those interested in visiting the museum for themselves, it does offer other amenities such as a rather tasty restaurant and a pretty cool zoo, where you can watch an emu picking at rocks, cranes feeding, and you can even walk among kangaroos. If you're lucky, they may just hop your way so you can pet them. Sadly, me and my friends weren't that lucky, although they did look pretty cool chilling in the shade. Overall, I would say I had a good experience at the Ark Encounter, and as a Christian myself, I did find it rather fascinating to see the scale of the Noah story, and the theories about how it may have been done are very fascinating to me. And hopefully, whether you're a Christian or not, you also found the Ark Encounter rather interesting. Thank you for watching, and let me know your thoughts on the Noah story and where I should go next. Until next time, farewell.